Nightholme is an action horror extraction thriller. It's a game where you play Grim Runners. Grim Runners are these, call them bounty hunters that go into this area corrupted by something that we call Grimspawn, and you go out and you hunt for monsters. And along the way, you collect these arcane artifacts. There's 3 keywords in the world of Nightholme: scout, steal, and survive. Once you have your loot, once you've killed the monster you were there to kill, you have to extract and survive and escape with the little sanity that your character has left at the end of a match. So please, don't forget to join us, to follow us on our social networks, like wishlist us on Steam, and please follow us on Discord, where there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be happening. Now, earlier I alluded to an announcement to something cool, so allow me to introduce to you a very special friend and somebody that we've been partnering with for the past few months. A partner and a friend, Dr. Lucien Pyczynski, who is the CEO and founder of WeaverFlow.
Yes, brother, yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How lovely to have you here in this wonderful European capital. Where should we start? We at WeaverFlow have been investigating something very interesting and very important, which is what we would call a hard problem. Now, a hard problem is something that people can't quite get their heads around, and in this case, it's such a difficult problem that for a long time people thought it would be unsolvable. But I'm here to tell you otherwise, because let's start with a premise. We at WeaverFlow believe that fear, not hatred, is the true antagonist of love. Because fear narrows your choices and it creates an ever smaller and smaller and smaller world. So, what have we been doing? Together we've been tapping the human psyche. We've been trying to grapple with this question of fear and to really understand fear. And we are placing people in a position to safely interact with their fears within the rubric of a wonderful video game. So, what is WeaverFlow? To be briefly specific, WeaverFlow is a content comprehension system that uses affect telemetry to help develop more unusual, and in this case, more frightening content. It is something that we have knowingly conditioned, and by understanding it better, we're able to move through it and to proceed into the next phase of life. And there's an added benefit that's very important, which is that it considerably speeds up the production process, but not by replacing the artist, but by empowering them, by giving them the tools to emotionally react and discover new things. Let me show you. So what are we doing? We're training fear-related data sets with data that has been ethically gathered, which gives our partners the opportunity to rapidly transition. Because WeaverFlow turns everyone here into an artist, curating human emotion and giving them the tools to make beautiful art. But it's very important to note that this AI does not push the human away from the center. On the contrary, the human is right at the center, right, the very focus of this process. The Aleph and the Omega, the scryer at the Shrewstone, the living name at the heart of the watchtower.
Okay. I have to admit, when we first heard about you guys through our parent company, we were skeptical. We didn't really know if that would be applicable to an actual game production. But honestly, after having integrated it into our systems and seeing firsthand the impact it's had on creativity, it just became a no-brainer. This partnership was a natural thing. And so thank you so much for, yeah.
Thank you. And it's really important to note that this, with Studio Ellipsis, is just the beginning of some really important work that's going to transcend. It's going to go way beyond Nightholme, way beyond video games, because really what we're talking about here, guys, is fear. That little thing that we've all experienced in our lives. And it's my belief that fear is, in effect, just an outdated human psychological factor that we're no longer in need of. And what we're able to do now is we're going to combat this fear. We're going to eradicate it. We're going to find it. We're going to fight it in your homes. We're going to fight it on your screens, in the corners, in the shadows. And ultimately, we're going to eliminate fear. So imagine what kind of a world we'll be living in without fear.
Well, now that we have made our big announcement, maybe perhaps we can talk things through a little further. Gentlemen, would you like to join me in a little chat right here? Okay. Okay. All right, a little more cozy, more casual. Okay, so we have shown you our little Frankenstein, our new Frankenstein. Maybe we can dissect it a bit more. Okay. So I have some questions for both of you. The first one for Alex. Where did WeaverFlow truly save time, and how did you ensure that the human touch stayed essential to the process?
Well, that was the priority, right? The number one thing is that we don't believe that these new emerging tools that we're seeing a lot powered by AI, we don't believe that these things are meant to replace humans. I think that they should empower human creativity and human power. We're just getting started in integrating this stuff into our game, but so far what we've seen is a direct impact, for example, on the way that we're generating creatures. And there's actually metrics that we can show behind this. For example, like if we playtest the game before and after, you actually see a real uptick in the scary factor and the terror of these creatures. And so, this is just part of the benefits that the WeaverFlow partnership is giving us. And, traction is super important, not only because obviously as a studio making its first game, we have to get it out to the fans as quickly as we possibly can in order for us to kind of show the value of the studio, but also from the perspective of the team themselves, when you start working in a new studio, new IP, there's this energy that comes with it, but that energy is fed through interaction with the fan base. And so the faster we can actually get our product out to fans, the better it is in order for them to kind of keep motivated and to keep that sacred fire burning. So this is just part of the benefits.
We basically made them an offer that they couldn't refuse.
Let's talk ethics. Dr. Pyczynski.
It's okay. You can just call me Dr. Lucien.
Dr. Lucien, okay. AI can scare a lot of people. You mentioned ethical data sets. I would love to hear more about what kind of data this is and how it is derived.
Good question. Yeah. So basically, at our headquarters, we have a facility where we gather impulses and data that is then combined in a Solomonoff induction and a sort of basic data processing theory.
Okay, so you're telling us that basically you put people inside boxes and scare them.
No, not exactly like that. No, but what we do is we have these rooms and people come and sit there and we show them stories. And in this case, they are often terrifying stories.
But it's not like you're propping people's eyeballs open.
No, of course not. No, everyone that's there is there by their own sort of explicit consent. And although it might be a little alarming at first to go through one of these experiences, people seem to be pretty quickly acclimating to them. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Typically, we think of horror as something that causes us harm. We all talk about being traumatized by our first horror movie at a slumber party, but now we're talking about using it to heal. How far do you think one game can really go towards ridding the world of fear?
I mean, you talk about like slumber parties. It reminds me of the first experience I had with a horror film. Like I might have been 7 or something, and went to a friend's house. Maybe there were like 3 or 4 of us, and we found this old VHS tape, probably like belonged to like the kid's parents or something. And it was this recording from TV of I think it was Amityville Horror. And it was grainy, exactly what you imagine when you think of like an old VHS recording. And we watched that, and honestly, I still have vivid memories. I don't think I slept for like a month afterwards, but I still have vivid memories of those scenes, even though pretty much everything else that I watched when I was 7 years old is just gone. But that stuck. It just got me thinking about horror, about the source of it, why it exists, how it evolved from a survival mechanism, protecting us in the wild, into something that hurts us more than it helps us now. So, of course, we're making a game, first and foremost, a fun game. But if we can contribute, even in a small way, to kind of helping eradicate fear, then why not do it?
Share, observe, and ascend. But actually, that reminds me, the I don't know what it was for all of you, but the one that it was for me was The Ring. I saw The Ring when I was like 8, and I just didn't sleep for like 3 months. I probably slept in my parents' bed for 3 months after that.
Okay, I have here a few questions from our community. How did you combine the horror and extraction genres in a way that feels cohesive?
That's a really good question. When we started this, the game was actually a shooter. And we were slowly led away from it, from the game itself. When you start creating something, at one point, it takes a life of its own. And it starts kind of pointing you to one direction or another. And you can either fight it or you can kind of go with it. And I personally think it's always a good idea to let the creativity and the product take you where it wants to go. So the game kind of started evolving into something very different, very original. It became a third-person action game. The horror was always part of it, but it also evolved. This idea of turning into a monster, this idea of playing with characters' perception, of delving into insanity. All of that stuff kind of layered on top of the original concept, and it's been really leading us towards an amazing and original kind of combination of different genre ideas to create something that I think will be feel really fun and original to a lot of players.
Okay.
Let me ask quickly, Alex, how quickly did you realize that you were straying from the shooter genre? How quick, and how did that arrive?
It arrived quite early, and here's exactly how that happened. When we started, it was about delving into these corrupted places and fighting and hunting a monster. And then we started having this idea of delving into the monstrous aspect of becoming a monster yourself. And the more we started heading down this direction, the more the guns seemed to be fighting against the concept. Let me put it this way. You enter a map with weapons, right, with guns, and then you turn into monsters. As the session progresses, you become stronger and stronger and more powerful creature. As you're doing so, the guns become less and less important. And if you're basing the game and the economy on the guns, then you're essentially making all of that stuff obsolete.
Very interesting. I'm glad that this happened, because I feel like if you had stayed in the shooter genre, I'm not sure we would have been put in touch.
You're absolutely right.
We probably wouldn't have collaborated. We wouldn't be sitting here today.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, very well. This one is for you, Dr. Lucien.
Hit me.
What exactly is WeaverFlow collecting?
So we're collecting millisecond by millisecond cortical state transitions from passive biosignals and the actions they foreshadow. But in reality, it's a lot more holistic than just that.
Okay. You've mentioned there's a bigger world beyond the game. How will players actually experience that?
That's a really good question. Maybe we are experiencing it right now. The idea is that we wanted to create a world that transcended the constraints of the video game medium. And you can access the world through different channels. Discord is one. The idea is that we want the fan base and the community to become not only participants, whether they're inside or outside the game world, but we also want them to be the contributors, or even be collaborating in the very creation of this universe.
We're just delighted that this for us basically represents the first real life experimentation. And like we said earlier, the impacts are going to go way beyond Studio Ellipsis. And the great thing is that you guys can all collaborate, and it's not news it's going to be fine. It's on the Discord and
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Soon, but soon.
Not yet.
But soon. Okay.
Okay, this one, I assume I'm a bit afraid to ask this one.
Okay, for
but
me.
Yes, but also I cannot wait for the answer. So
Okay,
here he
okay,
goes,
okay.
Doctor. If fear is reduced, what expands to fill that space?
Is this from Oleg? Oleg, we talk about this like once a week. You want me to really answer though? Okay. If fear is okay, let's say we can think about it one of two ways. Okay, so either I know the answer or I don't know the answer to this question. But in either case, it's great news for humanity.
Okay, and this is where we will finish our little chat. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. It was a pleasure to...
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us here. It was a pleasure to have you here. If you haven't joined us on the Discord, please do. If I failed some of your questions, please send them again, and I will do my best to answer them to you guys. Thank you, everyone, and this is how it starts. Please follow us through this journey. Thank you again.
Thank you. Yes, yes.